Hello and welcome back to our Arabella series with Kat and Paulette at Alley Kat's Quilt Shop in Marquette, Michigan. So this month we are going to be completing block 4, and this is what it looks like. It's a gorgeous block. Right here it's called the Jewel block. We are going to be constructing 4 of these. And we are using all of our fabrics except for one. So let's pull out, before I show you our pieces. Here is our Jewel block cutting and piecing instruction. Let me get rid of these. So there are 2 pages. We have page 4 here, and flip it over for page 5. And then once we get the Jewel block done, we're going to be able to put our 9 blocks that we've completed so far together. So we are going to be using fabric 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8, and 9 this month. So we will not be using fabric 7. We are going to be making some V blocks with our 2 peaks in 1 ruler, which we've already done before. And we're also going to be making some flying geese blocks, some half square triangle blocks, and they call this an hourglass block, or some of us refer to this as a quarter square triangle block. All right. And then we're going to be putting them all together. We are also going to be making what it refers to as sew and flip bars. All right. So let's look at our cut fabric for each fabric for this month. We have over here fabric number 1. We have 2 6-inch squares, and we're going to be using these for half square triangles. And then we have 4 5 1/4 inch squares, which we'll also be using as half square triangles. That's fabric 1. Fabric 2, we have 4 5 1/4 inch squares for half square triangles. We have 8 2.5 inch squares. We have 8 3 1/8 inch squares, and this started out as a square, and then we cut it apart. So these are what our triangles are going to look like after we cut our 8 3 1/8 inch squares. So these are the bigger one, these are the smaller ones. And then down here we have our 4.5 by 21, and we're going to subcut this with our 2 peaks in 1 ruler for the outside skinny triangles on our V blocks. Okay, so they're going to be these outside triangles. All right, fabric 3 I moved and put way up there. Let's bring it back down. These are 2.5 by 8.5 inch rectangles. We're going to use those to make the sew and flip bars. Fabric 4, 1 6-inch square, which we're going to use as a half square triangle. Fabric 5, we have 2 5.5 inch squares, which are going to be used for our hourglass block. And then these are the remainders. So I wanted to show you, you're going to start with 2 5.5 inch squares and subcut them diagonally, and these are going to be your triangles. Fabric 6, 2.5 by 4.5 inch rectangles. We need 8 of those. Fabric 8, 2 6-inch squares. We're going to use those for half square triangles. And the last fabric is fabric 9. And we have a 4.5 by 21 piece, which we're going to use the 2 peaks in 1 ruler, but these are going to be the center of our V block. This is going to be the large large triangle. And then up here we have a 3 6-inch squares that are going to be used for half square triangles. Okay, so our cutting has been done, and now we're going to start with the first thing we're going to do is we're going to piece our V blocks. So we need to use fabrics 2 and 9. So 9, we're going to grab one of these. Let me move this over. And 2, remember how we did this? We're going to use fabric 2 here with fabric 9, and we are going to construct our 2 peaks, or our V blocks, excuse me. So I'm going to head over to the sewing machine with Paulette. She's ready to go, and we're going to go ahead and put these together, and we'll be right back. Okay guys, here are our 4 V blocks, and I just want to remind you, when you're putting these together, you want to use a scant 1/4 inch seam allowance. Scant. You don't want a full. If you take a full seam allowance, they will not come out the correct size. If you take a scant, you'll have enough wiggle room just to trim these off, and these we've trimmed down just a smidge, and they're perfect. So I want to just remind you, you need to use a scant. Yeah, do one first and double check. Okay, now we're on to our flying geese block. We're going to use fabric 2 and 5, and when you line this up, you want to line up the bottom corner of your triangle first here, and this is going to stick off quite a bit. Okay, that's going to stick off, and that's correct. So that way when you get the 2 sides on there, okay, everything lines up at the bottom, and you have extra on the top, because we want to make sure we have a full 1/4 inch here when we trim this. So make sure you start in the bottom corners, and then you'll have plenty up here to trim. So we're gonna continue making our the 8 flying geese blocks, and we'll be right back. Okay guys, here are our fabric 1 and fabric 2 of our half square triangle units. So you're going to draw a diagonal line. You're going to sew a 1/4 inch on either side, cut them apart, press to fabric 1. So I just did a quick finger press here. Make sure you don't, press this with your, put the tip of your iron in here and press it and make this line not straight. So I always like to finger press first. You're going to press it with the iron, and then we're going to square these up to 4.5, just for these 4 units, which will yield us 8 units. So each one of these yields 2. So we're going to have 2, 4, 6, 8. Now, the other half square triangles, half square triangle B, C, D, and E, we are only going to be making 2 of each. You're going to sew on either side of the center, cut them apart, press them open. Do not trim them. Do not trim them yet. We're going to use those for our 1/4 square triangle units or hourglass units. So I'll show you how that's going to go together here in just a second. Okay, so we are going to now take the half square triangle B, C, D, and E, and we're going to create our hourglass block. So here is the first half square or hourglass block we're going to make. You're going to press all of your half square triangles to the dark side, so that way when we open them, when we nest them, our seam allowances are going in opposite directions. This is half square triangle B, color 4 and 9. This is half square triangle C, 8 and 9. And we're going to nest this seam. We're going to put these together. We're going to draw a line from corner to corner here and sew on either side and cut them open. So Paulette, if you want to take and sew this one together. All right, so we're going to do that 2 times, okay, because we have two of each block. So that's what this one's going to look like. So we'll get those sewn up. And then half square triangle D and E go together. All right, and so we have fabric 1 and 8 and fabric 1 and 9. Notice your ones are opposite. We're going to line up that center seam. We're going to draw a perpendicular diagonal line from this seam, sew on both sides, and then when we cut them open, we're going to get 2 of these hourglass blocks, and we're going to do it again, so we're going to end up with 4 of these hourglass blocks. Then we can trim these up to 4.5 inches square, okay? But that's why we didn't want to trim these until we get the second square sewn to it. So we'll be right back. All right, guys, here are our hourglass units. There is one set of 4. This is the second set of 4. So, and these have all been trimmed down to 4.5 inches square. So our next step is to make our sew and flip bars, A and B. So we are going to use fabric 2 squares to the end of fabric 3 bars. It's okay. Paulette's over there sewing away. So you're going to lay a fabric 2 square face down on a 3 bar. You're going to draw a diagonal line and you're going to sew on that line. What I would suggest is do not trim these until you're done, because we need mirror images, okay? We need 4 of A and 4 of B. So you definitely don't want to make these going the same direction, or you will be in trouble because you will not have enough fabric in your kit to recut these. So now we have these all sewn. We've double checked that we have exactly 4 of each going in each direction. We're going to trim these, and now we get to now we're going to construct our top unit. We're going to make 4 of these. This is the top unit. And then we're going to go on and make our center unit, side units, and then we're going to assemble our blocks. Okay? Be right back. Okay, here is our first top unit. We are going to use the hourglass number 1, and it's going to be oriented in this direction with our dark greens to the outside. With our half square triangles, half square triangle A, and we are going to orient it this way with the print touching the sides of our hourglass block. So we are going to sew all 4 top units together. Here is the next unit we're going to make, the center unit, and that is on your cutting sheet on page 5 in the upper right hand corner. We're going to use hourglass 2 and our V block together. Make sure that your dark green is oriented on its side along with our dark green on our hourglass block. So we are going to sew these 2 together and make 4 of these units, and they should measure 4.5 by 8.5. Now we've subcut these to 4.5, so we're good there. After you sew this seam, measure this, make sure we have 8.5 inches. If we don't, then adjust your seam allowance here. We really need these to measure correctly. And also, Paulette's sewing the top units together right now. When we get these 3 blocks together, they need to measure 12.5. So we are going to double check that measurement and make sure we have it. And then we will be making our side units next. Okay, here is the next section we're going to put together. I will show you the units that we're finishing Actually, here is our top unit that we just sewed together. And with a just a slight scant quarter, it came out absolutely perfect. 12.5 inches. So we've got 2 of those done. Paulette's working on the other 2. She's also working on the center unit here. We'll show you that in a minute. But the next unit we're going to put together are our side units. And this is, you're going to have to be careful when you sew these together because we have the A unit and then the opposite B unit. But notice when we sew our solid bar, number 6, fabric 6, we need to sew it to the opposite side of our flying geese unit. So here is the unit with A. This is our A bar, flying geese to the left, our rectangle to the right. Notice when we sew this together, we're going to get a half square triangle here, which is kind of cool. Once this is sewn, it'll all fit together. Here is that same unit, but this is B, the B bar. Notice our flying geese unit is to the right, our bar is to the left, and here is that half square triangle that's going to be created when we sew them together. So we need to make 4 of this unit with the A rectangle, and we need to make 4 of this unit with the B rectangle. So that is the next unit that we are going to be putting together. Okay guys, we have 4 side unit A's and 4 side unit B's put together. They went together beautifully. Make sure that if you're having a struggle with lining this intersection up, this should make a straight line. You can always do a little pin stab and peek and put a pin right here and pin through both of them and line those up before you sew them. We are not trimming these units, so make sure your edges, you start at the same spot here and your edges finish at the same spot here because we are not trimming these up. These are what they are. And ours came out perfect at 12, these 12.5. Let me see, these finish, oh, it doesn't tell us. Let me measure this again. Let me see, 8.5. These are 8.5. Oh, these are 8.5 by 4.5. Also, we want to press these toward the bar. So we're going to press them towards these units, okay? All right, now the next thing we're going to do, we need 1 unit B, 1 unit A. We need 1 of our top units, okay? And then we are going to put 1 of our diamond units. Isn't this beautiful? This block is so pretty. So pretty. And again, if you have a problem with your seams matching up here or here, do the pin stab method, which we showed you in a previous video. So here is how we're going to put this block together. So this, our top unit goes here. Our side unit goes here. Let me make sure I have this oriented correctly. Yes, and here. And this is going to be our completed block. So the first thing we're going to do is we are going to sew side A, center unit, side B together first. Make sure that you match up your center seams here. And then once we have this together, we're going to sew the top on. These should be, yes, yay, down and up. So our seams are staggered here in the center, so we should be good to go. All right, we'll be right back. Okay, we have our block finished. Isn't it gorgeous? Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. All right, now you're going to get out from your blocks that we've done previously. Block 1, our center block, block 3, We are not using block 2 to make the center of our quilt. So right now, we are going to be sewing a giant 9 patch, and it is going to be from here down, over, and up this center here.
There's a picture of the center somewhere.
Yep, and here it is on page 5. And I want to just go over a couple things. First of all, when you put this block together, block 4, you're going to press your seams on the bottom half towards the center V-block unit. So you're going to press them in. And then when you sew the top of this on, I have it upside down here, sorry. So you're going to press it in here, and when you sew your top unit on, they tell you to press your seams open here, okay? Press them open. It's just going to help the block lay flatter. So this goes upside down here. It's going to, the green V block is going to point out all the way around this center unit. It's going to point out, point down, and point out. Our center, block 3, our block 4 we just did. Now, do you notice over here, this is going to be a giant 9 patch. Now, we only have one of our unit 4s together right now, but this is our block 3. And in the directions, they have X's here. And they are telling us that we need to make sure that the V-block units with fabric 7 should go in the outside corner. So what I did here was I put a little white dot on here so that you can see what they're talking about. This is fabric 7. This is not, this is not, this is, and this is. So you want to make sure that fabric 7 V-block is pointing in the outside corners that way, and down here in this corner this way, okay? So make sure you've got these rotated in the correct position. And actually, we did find a mistake in one of these pictures, and I can't remember which one. But here is a picture of the center unit, just right here. And I can't remember, one of them they had our red. I think it's this red one here. Our reds go diagonally, and this one goes the opposite direction. So let's see if our V block, that's correct. So what they did is they just rotated this little unit here before they put it together. So now ours are going opposite directions too. So, and I know we did it the way they said, so I think they are supposed to alternate, and maybe this one of the other ones is reversed. Anyway, honestly, I don't think it matters, because once you get this together, there's so much piecing going on that I don't think anybody's going to really be able to see that. The only other thing I want to mention is once we get this 9 patch together, so what you're going to do, you're going to sew this top row together, then your middle row together, and your bottom row together. I always on my center block, since there's a lot of piecing, well, there's a lot of piecing everywhere, just choose whether you want your seams to go in on the center block or out. Whatever you do the opposite here. So if these, you press them out, press these in, and press your bottom row in. Once you sew these two together, I usually just press those out from the center, and I don't think it really matters. They don't tell us, but this unit, once we get all 9 blocks together, this unit should measure 36.5 inches square. Now, we've been measuring our blocks up as we go, and they have been coming out at an exactly 12.5 inches. So as long as your blocks are finishing 12.5 inches, Once you sew this together, this should come out perfectly at 36.5. If it's off 1/8 of an inch, don't fret. Fabric stretches and we can make that work by easing. So don't worry about that. We are going to close here because we're hungry. And we need to go eat, and the app I'm using will not allow us to sit and idle for that long. So we are going to close today. When we join you back here next month, and hopefully we'll get this month 5 video up a little bit earlier next month, June, right? We're going into June.
I should go get a block.
We will show you this completed center before we start with step 5, but I don't think you're going to have any problems with this unit, this center unit, putting it together, as long as you just use your scant 1/4 of an inch and just pin so that all your intersections meet up. So until then, we'll sign off here and we'll see you back here next month for block 5. Right, Paulette? And, yep, jewel block, page 4 and 5. Yep, 4 and 5.
Okay.
Yep, it's back to back.
Okay.
And so next month, we're going to be doing the hourglass star. How pretty is that? So we'll see you then. Bye.